Sabru Samad.
Mr. Speaker, with your permission, I'll respond to both the PQ 17 and 18 on questions on the capability transfer program together so that I can provide a more holistic reply.
Yes, please.
Thank you. Since the Capability Transfer Program, or CTP, was introduced in October 2017, more than 140 companies and over 990 locals across more than 20 sectors have benefited or are expected to benefit from the program. The top three sectors in terms of the number of local trainees are precision engineering, air transport, and logistics. Under the CTP, funding support is provided to companies to acquire global capabilities that are not available in Singapore. Now, this can be done in a variety of ways, such as by, one, bringing foreign specialists into Singapore to train locals in new capabilities. Two, sending locals for overseas training attachments. Three, facilitating remote capability transfer from foreign specialists. And four, supporting follow-on training in Singapore by local specialists who were trained by foreign specialists or had trained overseas. To qualify for funding, companies are required to submit a training plan on the new capabilities to be acquired and the number of local employees who will be trained. This way, we ensure that each CTP project leads to genuine upskilling. For example, the CTP project by SP Services Limited sent 12 local employees to the US to learn about advanced network design and optimization. Upon their return to Singapore, these employees in turn trained 13 other local colleagues. As a result of this project, the local team is now able to take on an expanded job role, performing more advanced tasks such as fault isolation and data analysis. These were previously jobs that could only be undertaken by contractors. Mr. Saktiandi Supat also asked about conditions that are imposed on the CTP. CTP companies are required to commit to training a specific number of locals. Now, as to the suggestion to require that a company reduce its foreign workforce after completing a CTP project, I think it is too blunt an approach. Such conditions would penalize companies that are transferring expertise to locals, but at the same time, they still need to grow their overall workforce, both locals and foreigners, to meet growing demand. Due to travel restrictions arising from COVID, take-up of the CTP has been minimal over the past 2 years. With a gradual resumption of international travel, we expect more inquiries and more applications for the CTP, which has been extended to September 2024. CTP is not the only way in which the government supports firms in capabilities transfer. Enterprise Singapore's Global Ready Talent Program supports Singapore companies in building young talent pipeline through internships and overseas work opportunities. MOM is also piloting the Global Rotation Scheme, which facilitates the entry of high-potential employees from abroad on the condition that these same companies post Singaporeans abroad on the same leadership development program. Beyond government schemes, skills transfer takes place through structured company training programs, as well as learning from a variety of people, including peers, superiors, customers, and suppliers. Workers may also acquire valuable skills through a range of assignments, including overseas postings and even job changes, to gain exposure to different industries or different markets. We can see that this is reflected in the macro employment data. Resident employment has grown strongly over the past 10 years, driven by PMET jobs, which now make up 62.1% of resident workers, compared to 52.7% in 2011. Resident unemployment rates have remained low. They rose during the pandemic, but have since recovered to 3.1% as at January 2022. Real median income of full-time resident workers grew an average of 2.6% per year from 2011 to 2021. Thank you.
Mrs. Saktiandi support.
I'm glad to know from Minister that there are more sectors now that will be benefiting from the CTP, 20 sectors, and hopefully we'll have more sectors going forward. My question is in regards to my German motion, which I raised in 2019 on this matter, and I'm raising it in the PQ as well. With regards to the funding support for CTP, I had suggested before whether we can consider expanding the CTP to support the transfer of capabilities from foreign employees currently already employed in Singapore to local employers, with the eventual aim of localizing jobs, working in tandem with the localization targets I mentioned back in the German motion. This is because the current funding support of CTP only applies to incoming foreign specialists. So I hope Mr. can answer my question, my suggestion here, or question whether we can consider expanding the CTP to support transfer of capabilities from foreign employees currently already employed in Singapore to local workers. Thank you.
I thank the member for his suggestion. It's something that we certainly will look at it and look at it closely. I think the appreciation of the fact that this has to be a very tightly scoped funding support structure is important, because obviously in making sure that that capability transfer is effected and also effective, so that our local Singaporean employees can gain the maximum amount of expertise and skill sets from this particular program, I think is of paramount importance to us. So I think just a broad, perhaps summary of how we think of in terms of the extension of funding support. Support levels will be determined by WSG in consultation with the relevant sector agencies. And today, CTP projects can receive up to 90% funding. And the co-funding ratio will depend really on the impact of the CTP project, and whether, of course, the entity that's applying is an SME, a non-SME, or organizing the program on an industry-wide level. So I think today, the funding rates, the different levels of support serve and they exist to differentiate the level of support based on the assessed impact of each project. And of course, we also have to ensure that there is some degree of co-funding from the participating company or the industry itself. Thank you.
Abdul Samad.
I just have one supplementary question. Can MOM consider a higher funding for companies intending to embark on the capability transfer program and also engage the unions through our company training committee for a more balanced assessment to ensure that it's a structured plan for transfer of capabilities?
I thank the member for his suggestion. We're not close to anything, but I think, let me set the perspective. Thus far, since the program began till now, WSG has not received any feedback from interested companies that the existing support rates or the project funding cap of 300,000 Singapore dollars is restrictive. So we will continue to monitor the take-up of the scheme. I mean, it's something that we have started for quite a number of years. Certainly, companies have benefited. And like I said, 990 locals, close to about 1,000, have also benefited or will be benefiting from the program. And in the absence of additional feedback, unless Mr. Samad is suggesting that there are instances where he finds that the funding cap of 300,000 is restrictive, it's something that we can look to review. Thank you.
Mr. Pritam Singh.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you, Minister. I think this is a subject I spoke about in my budget speech last year as well, seeking details on the number of individual Singaporeans who've benefited from the capability transfer program. In view of the revision or the review of the ITM towards ITM 2025, does the capability transfer program does it feature very prominently in the review of the ITMs? Because as I mentioned last year, my view is it can be an important conduit through which locals upskill effectively with new skills that have a direct knock-on effect on their companies and, of course, on enterprise in general. My second question is specifically on the 990 locals that and the 140 companies that Minister spoke of earlier. How many of them received the highest cap of funding at 90%? Thank you.
The CTP program is one of the multitude of programs that we have available in ensuring that we are able to nuance the JTM to match what we have actually set out to achieve under our ITM. And I believe that the Minister of Trade and Industry, Mr. Gan, will provide an update in terms of the effectiveness of the programs at a later stage itself. I think suffice to say, we have got a whole host of other programs like the CTC program, which is administered by NTUC, the company training committees. Then WSG works on the CCP, which is the career conversion programs in helping many of our mid-career job seekers who want to switch career. So it is one of the many programs that we have available. Now, as far as the numbers in terms of that 140 companies and the 990 locals, how much of the funding of up to 90% they we have been able to sort of accord. At this particular point in time, I don't have the numbers, but I'm happy to provide the details subsequently. Now, one other point that I hope that the Leader of the Opposition may want to take note is that the last 2 years during COVID, because of border restrictions, the numbers of companies applying for this particular program to allow either their employees to go overseas for training or to bring foreign expertise here has been significantly curtailed. And hence, that sort of speaks for the very low take-up rate over the last 2 years. But I think as border controls ease, as we start opening up, I would expect that the numbers will start to go up again all the way until the end of the program in 2024. Thank you.